I hereby introduce to you Mr. Michael Veazey.
Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. Today's show is brought to you by the amazing FBA mentoring program, and we are having a contest. Never done this before for mentoring. I really don't like to give away my time for free, which is obviously because it's very valuable. It's valuable to my clients as well as to me. So what problems is it there to solve? Well, first of all, people get business building block. It's like writer's block, only worse. It's information overload sometimes leads to it. Too many podcasts, too many Facebook groups, isolation. Uncertainty about how to proceed. It doesn't matter what it is. It tends to result in the same thing, which is procrastination. You never get round to business building. The other block is how to choose a product, a lack of structure, a lack of knowledge, or an excess of knowledge. Again, info overload, same result. People never get round to actually buying anything to sell. They never order a product. Therefore, they never get off the ground. If they start sourcing, they feel they're taking unknown risks, and they often are. So they either get blocked and never buy anything, or they buy stuff and they take unnecessary risks, or they just buy a product that hasn't got a chance. And launching on Amazon is the final place where I help a lot of people, the more advanced sellers sometimes, as well as the beginners, which is they don't understand the platform well, so they either have no plan or a poor launch plan, and the result is often that they lose a lot of money that they've spent on products, goes completely to waste because they aren't able to launch properly. So the solution is really a couple of things. First of all, clarity and structure that comes from the entire private label process, which underpins not only our course, but the whole work we do here in mentoring as well. So instead of just getting launched in one massive push, which is the traditional way of looking at it, and I'm just going to show an infographic here if you're watching on the YouTube version. Instead of one big push, which is traditionally how it works, and you spend months and months working without ever getting any feedback from the marketplace or learning your skills, and then you suddenly spend thousands in one go. That seems very unhelpful to me, and it is unhelpful, and it's proved unhelpful beyond any reasonable doubt, as they say in the court system, with lots of mentoring clients. Instead, we now run the business building algorithm, which includes lots of very, very clear processes to get through blocks and get to the right answers as simply as possible, but without missing the nuances. It's that fine line. The PAP process, for example, the PIC and the PIE, the PAP, pick and pie processes will get you to a fantastic start with a good product choice. And by the way, the clue here, I'll give you a bit of a hint there. It's about getting the people before the products. So we also get clarity and structure and from our interactions. Instead of 1,000 possibilities a week, you have 3 goals a week. Instead of isolation, you have accountability, and that leads to momentum. So my offer to you is simple. I'm going to offer a first prize of 1 full month's mentoring program, which is 4 one-hour sessions of video calls with recordings with yours truly, plus email support. That is normally £400 value, and people pay that every day or every month anyway. £400, $515. I'll also throw in a massive free bonus I'll reveal if you sign up for the contest. I haven't got time to talk about that now. So I'm going to run this until we have 40 applicants, or about 4 to 5 days, depending on which comes first. Note that mentoring is an application-only program, but right now you just need to give your name and email address, and we'll follow up with you if relevant. So just go to, if you're interested in this, amazingfba.com/contest, amazing, F for Freddie, B for Bertie, A for Alpha.com/contest, CON for November, TES for sugar, amazingfba.com/contest, and enter your name and email address, and we will take it from there. We'll follow up. And exciting times. If you've ever wanted to have some input and some help, it's very powerful. This is the cheapest you'll ever get it, because there is nothing cheaper than free, but it's valuable. So cheap is not the right word, but free doesn't mean not massively valuable. Do not underestimate the commercial value of the time that I've been charging out to people for nearly 3 years now. And if you're serious about that at all, get yourself over to amazingfba.com/contest. If you're not interested, thank you very much for your patience in listening to this impassioned plea. And now on with the show. Hello, ladies and jelly spoons. Welcome back to the show. We're back into the realm of interviews, which I'm delighted by. You always get so much for interviews. I love the process of picking the brains of experts in particular areas. Today, we've got Sean Elias from Helium10. Sean is an Amazon seller himself in the trenches. He's working hard to grow his business, and is also working alongside 7- and 8-figure sellers. So he gets to see the inside track of a hell of a lot of big businesses. And of course, having been a seller himself, he's ended up working for Helium10. So he gets the inside track on all the data. So Sean, fantastic to have you with us, and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, and hello, jelly spoons.
Yeah,
I love that
absolutely. The
part.
jelly spoons are out there. I don't know. I nicked that from Tim Ferriss. I mean, it doesn't mean that it's good. I mean, I probably nicked all the bad things, as people often do. They nick the bad things from good people and leave the good things, like having 10 million downloads per podcast. But nice to speak to a fellow Brit, although you are actually not in Britain, are you? Tell us where you are.
I'm in Irvine, California.
Excellent.
Is where I'm at right now. Yeah, been here for the past month and a half. Absolutely stunning. If you're watching from England, I just want to let you all know that Irvine, California is the new improved England. The grass is as soft as it is in England, not like Florida, where I initially moved to, where it's like really hard and stiff. California has no clouds, and if it rains, it's maybe 1 or 2 days out of the month. Besides that.
Okay, so I'm trying and failing not to feel really bad now, because it is actually, I'm looking out the window as I look outside. It's actually just started snowing. So
what? I missed that, dude. Oh.
You missed that. Hey, you can always pop up to Chicago. You can always fly in there. In these States, you can get whatever.
That is true.
Anyway, so
That's
you know
true.
what? The one thing that locks us out as Brits, my friend, is we're both immediately talking about the weather. That's hilarious. So
I know.
let's get back to brass tacks. So yeah, thanks very much for coming on. It's lovely. And it's like, this reminds me that it's such an international business, this. I mean, there's no barriers of place. You know, it's a wonderful thing that I think that you can draw on the best in the world from wherever they happen to be via the internet. And that's one of the mentality shifts that still, for a lot of people, because you and I work online all the time, forget that the people that are transitioning out of a day job don't necessarily have that mentality. So I think one of the things we want to talk about today is getting the best in class. And I think Helium10 is a suite of tools which a lot of my serious seller friends quietly using away for quite a long time and take seriously. So it's a great set of tools. We haven't had somebody on from Helium10 yet, amazingly, in 3 years plus of the podcast. So it's overdue. So first of all,
crazy.
Tell us a little bit about how you came to work for Helium10, because obviously a Brit in California, you mentioned Florida. This all sounds intriguing. Give us a bit of your backstory there.
Right. Yes. All right. A bit of my backstory. So I kind of wrote out a template because I go off on tangents. I'm terrible for going off on tangents, and this could turn into like a 3-hour intro. So just a bit brief on me. Okay. So I moved to the USA from England 8 years ago. I moved to Florida, and it was ideally originally to learn and conquer the business world. You see, I used to be like a tie hanging around most of the time. But I wanted to be like a hat. I wanted to do things. I wanted to travel places. I wanted to see places. So I was a big family man back in England and was happy with what we had. Every now and then, though, I wish I had more to offer my loved ones, like I'm sure like many of you do too. You know, we were like a family of tomatoes. I kept lagging behind, falling splat on the floor. My dad would always say, "Catch up, son." So without going too deep, you like that one, don't you? Without going too deep, most of my early 20s were a mix of self-improvement books, distractions, and a lot of procrastination, which a lot of people face, you know. So ordinary human being. If I'd only been a bit more disciplined and followed the right advice, though I now see that would have been able to be a huge success a long time ago. Over 2 years ago now, I started taking leaps of faith and spent upwards of $13,000 on gurus who had already traveled the path of success and were showing what they had learned. I most likely could have been talking to you right now from Fiji if I didn't let myself get distracted away from doing private label selling on Amazon. The reason I got distracted was because my first product on Amazon actually failed. Turned out I was missing a number of tools that a lot of successful sellers were using. I think like most sellers, I started off with Jungle Scout, which I know you use, Michael. And that's pretty much all I started with. Anyway, the reason I got distracted, obviously, was because I did fail. So I took a break from Amazon towards other shiny objects, which a lot of failing entrepreneurs have in common. They get distracted. You know, they want to do good, but they see this, oh, that's going to be easier. That's going to be easier. But really nothing, you know, great success isn't easy. It comes to those who are persistent and stick with one thing and focus on one thing. I did a bit of traveling around. I went to some Amazon seller events while I was taking this break, just because I was like, maybe Amazon private label selling is the place to get into. I met a number of 7 and 8 figure sellers, and I said, you know, I asked for tips and tricks. What do you do? What do you do? And every one I talked to said that more than half of their suite of tools that they use was Helium10. And then I'd ask someone else, and I said, what were they using? They said Helium10. And then another guy said Helium10. So I was like, shoot, I have to go back and I have to learn how to use Helium10. So I went, this was in Amsterdam, this conference, and then there was another conference in Orlando. I was like, all right, so I've got to jump on Helium 10. So I quickly reviewed all the tools with my main focus on Helium 10, and Helium 10 had over 21 tools, and it has over 21 tools. I was like, shoot, this is all I need. So I was doing this around my daytime job, and back at one of the seller conferences, I actually met the CEO of Helium 10. I was like, shoot, how awesome would it be if I could work for Helium 10, because it's my passion and I absolutely love the tool. So I decided to try and marry myself into the company, and I did. So that's how I quickly, as a brief, found out about Helium 10, and then also got into working with the company. So now I'm with Helium 10, working as an educator. So I guess you can say I'm like a seasoned veteran with all the experiences and battle scars I've accumulated over the past 3 years of trying and learning. But I'm also in the same boat as many of you, just working hard and searching for my next big win. And I'm actually about to release my second product, which I'm 99% sure of. Lacking that 1% because we're human, and we do sometimes doubt ourselves and like, did I miss this? Did I miss that? But I have over 21 tools that I verified my product with, so I'm pretty much 100% confident that it's going to be a big win.
Wow,
and that's my story.
That's quite the story. Yeah, that's not your average corporate intro, but that's great. I love people to get a flavour of who they're talking with, because I think, people's stories are as much a part of what we learn from as what they say as well. And I think, you had the get up and go to literally get up and go, and you went abroad, and that can be a big change. I think people underestimate the difference between British culture and American culture, for starters. I think it's apart from the immigration issues, it's not easy to get a green card and so forth. So that takes some courage and some guts. So hats off to you for that. And it's also interesting that, as you said, you spent a lot of time in a mixture of self-improvement tools of various kinds and confusion and distraction. And there's a lot of people in that place. And I think it took me until about my early 40s in terms of internet marketing to deal with that. So you're ahead of the game with me. And a lot of people, I think it's never too late. That's been my learning as well. I didn't really start.
What did you say? You said early 40s?
Yeah, well, I didn't really start with online marketing in any serious way, starting with Amazon until I was 40. So, that was, my 30s were a bit of a mess,
You're joking, mate.
But,
how are you 40 years old?
Well, it just happens if you just wait for long enough. But
I thought you were like 28.
So I can see why they hired you. A true flatterer. That's a very British virtue. So well done. So let's crack into Helium 10. So we got a background on you, and that's a classic kind of entrepreneurial journey, really, from uncertainty to certainty, I would say, if I had to neatly categorize it. The fact that you put your product choice through 21 filters is quite extraordinary. We'll have to examine exactly what those are, and we'll come back to that in a second. But
the journey does really callous you. It's hard, but then it gets easier with the more challenges you face. You become more calloused, more strong, and just through it. If you don't give up, you just become a heck of a lot more likely to succeed. There's a lot of people actually who start off with their first product and succeed. I was just one of the ones that didn't succeed, and then, like many people who don't succeed on their first product, they have this voice in their head that goes, "Oh, it had to be me, didn't it?" But really, it's all an even playing field. There was a huge chance that their first product would have been a success, more so likely if they had the set of right tools, which I didn't in the beginning, but now I believe 100% that I do.
Excellent. Good. So let's talk about those tools then. So if Helium10 has 21 tools, rather than blast people with a great big list in one go, let's try and cherry pick. Because I think, you talked about the whole thing of choosing a product. And I would love to dig into your process for that as an example of, everyone does it somewhat differently. But before we do that, let's home into Helium. Let's clean up the line between looking for a new product and Helium10 as a skill, as a tool set, I should say. So what are would you say, which is the number one sort of flagship tool, or the number two, or sort of top 2 or 3 tools that Helium10 offers?
There's top tools for each different part of your Amazon selling journey.
So for niche research, deciding what product to sell. If I'm right at the beginning of my journey and I'm going, okay, I need to decide what I'm going to sell, what do I do?
Yeah, definitely the tool black box. It reduces the amount of time you need to spend product searching for your next hot product drastically. I remember I used Jungle Scout for maybe 7 days straight, maybe 3 hours a day, just trying to get a list of products and organize them. And then with my second product, I used Black Box, and I found it within an hour. And then I kept building a list of different products that I was maybe curious in. And I had this huge list after maybe about 3 hours of using Black Box and all of its filters. So really, I had a quick and easy overview of a bunch of different products I could look into. So Black Box actually helps you find it, and then you can verify it using X-Ray, the Chrome extension tool. So you do a search for that product and that product's keywords on Amazon, and then the X-Ray Chrome extension will give you all the graphs, the monthly sales, how many reviews and stuff, which I don't want to make an emphasis on. You don't want to get into a product niche. Well, and niches are big. There's lots of products within niches, and many of those products within niches are profitable for anybody. You don't want to get into a product that has maybe 10 competitors of yours with over 1,000 reviews. The standard is ideally you want to find a product that your competitors, more than 3 competitors, don't have over 1,000 reviews, and that you can also see that there's other people on page 1 who are making a decent amount of sales, maybe $10,000 per month or more, and you want to make sure they have maybe 200 reviews, 500 reviews, because they're a lot more easy to compete with. Yeah, so definitely Black Box and X-Ray. It's like brother and sister. They work perfectly together to help speed up the process of finding the product and verifying the product opportunity in whatever niche you want. And there is a niche category search drop down within Black Box, which helps make things really quick, easy, and simple.
Excellent, good. I mean, what we probably should be doing at some point is a video walkthrough of this stuff, because it's going to be a little bit hard to put all of it across in a podcast. But I mean, the podcast medium is one of those things that you can use while you're washing up or driving or whatever. So I think it's good to give people the overview, and then what we'll do is create some kind of walkthrough at some point if you can do that. I mean, we're intending to get people from Helium10 in, a few times this year. Yeah. So I mean, we'll definitely. I know, yeah.
Absolutely. I know you have something special for your viewers today, or your listeners today, to offer them maybe at the end. But
sure.
If once they sign up for a Helium10 account, there's a learn button at the top, and it takes them through everything step by step, seamlessly, so they can learn every tool with inside it. It's like a university inside a tool suite.
Got you. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I remember, but I guess that at this stage, people are still, if they're not using it already, or perhaps if people are using it and they don't know all the things it can do, that's often what I find if I've got a tool and then I encounter somebody who uses it intensively. I often think, oh wow, that can do a lot of things. Like Zoom has a lot of features, for example, which I didn't realize until I've taught my business coach, a couple of things about Zoom, because he wasn't using it as much as I was. So okay, so Black Box then is to find the possible product opportunities, and then X-Ray is the sister product that will double check that that's true, verify it. I guess I was going to sort of keep going with the Helium10 thing, but actually we can't really avoid the question which we were discussing just before we came online, weren't we? Because I've been working with a lovely but rather needy client who's the session massively overran because she's just in confusion, and you would say, okay, so how do you help her with the question of how do you sell? How do you choose a product to sell? And it's the question for 90% of people listening to podcasts, I think, because most people are at that stages. So what's your sort of process for finding a product, which includes, I presume, the Helium10 tools, but just as importantly, what's your sort of step-by-step, or what's your thinking about that?
Right. A lot of people, a lot of people who are nervous about it, they're stuck in the mindset of like, this is, too good to be true. I can't see it happening, and it's just belief patterns that aren't realistic to this business, because I'm pretty sure the most millionaires have been made off of selling on Amazon, and there's thousands of millionaires being made, every week on Amazon, because they know what tools to use and stuff. But a lot of people who are succeeding on Amazon are just jumping in and not overthinking it. The biggest thing is not to overthink it. It is, just find the process and go with it, and it's really as simple.
Okay, so that deals with the sort of mindset side.
Right, mate.
Tell me about the process. So I agree with that. Don't overthink and follow a process and go with it. Which, by the way, I couldn't agree more. That was pretty much a summary of what I was saying to my client. Like, you've got a process. It's in video form, so it's fixed. It's not going to wobble around in front of you. Yeah, we can tweak it. We can do whatever, but it's there. Follow it. Stop thinking too much. So having said that,
Yeah.
what process?
Yeah. Process. I would use black box. I'd filter it off. I'd filter the products down using black box to products that are making $10,000 or more in sales every month, with a maximum of 15 reviews, or even a maximum of 20 reviews. You can alter that, because anything with under 50 reviews typically is a new product launch that's doing really well. So if that's doing really well, then you're most likely going to be able to do just as well. So yeah, filter it down to, I would say, start off by trying to filter it down to 15 maximum reviews.
15. Okay, excellent.
Yeah, you got, mate. And
okay.
then with a monthly sales of over $10,000, you can go lower than that. Obviously, the lower you get, the broader your results, and the more likely you are going to find the product that maybe, you can start with maybe $700. Obviously, the less money it's making per month, and the lower reviews it has, you're likely to come across some really cheap items that you can start making maybe $300 a month from in profit, $500 a month from in profit. And a lot of new sellers are starting out that way because they want to play it safe. They don't want to invest too much money into like a product that's going to sell loads. So they start off with that, and then they start the compound, and then get into the bigger items that they learn it by investing in an item that doesn't cost too much. That's giving them maybe less than about $1,000 in profit every month. And once they've got the system down, they know how to do it. Then they're like, I got this now. I'm going to go ahead and invest $3,000, $4,000 in this amount of products, this more competitive product niche, and get the page one for that. And then that's how they slowly but surely climb to that $10,000 a month or more in profit, which many sellers are doing if they listen to the right people and take the right advice.
Okay, great. So you're basically filtering things through two simple filters: the sales per month per listing and the maximum 15 reviews. Now, do you think about looking at the market as a whole? So, for example, if I've got a product that is doing, or I or anyone else has a product that's doing $10,000 in sales a month, but the biggest product on page one is doing, like, in some markets, it could be as much as $200,000 in sales, and the next person down is doing 80, and the next person down is doing 50, and then 30, 20, whatever. Then obviously my $10,000 product may, although it's a nice monthly income to have if it's profitable, may be below the fold, the bottom of page one at the best, and competing with people with a lot of money to spend on dropping their prices or outspending me on ad spend. So how do you deal with the positioning of a product in the market as a whole, or do you not even take account of that? How do you deal with that thought?
Well, to get traffic, I'll just start here. To get traffic, obviously, you need to be on the first three pages. Page one is where all the traffic's coming from. Page two is where it slowly dies down. You can look at your own experiences while shopping on Amazon. You really don't ever go past page three unless you're really looking for something in particular and you can't find it. So page one is the must-be place to be, like, completely at ease and have all the traffic and money coming in. But I would $10,000 a month competing against these other guys. First, why are they making that much? Make sure it's not a brand. If it's a brand, because that could be a possibility. If it's not a brand, then there's a chance that they're doing some good outside marketing. However, if there's like maybe 4 or 5 people on the first page making a lot of money, around about the same, then there's a good chance now that it's not the outside marketing that they're doing, it's just the traffic coming to page one. And the reason they're getting all the sales is because their image is winning the click. Their title is helping win the click. The number one thing is you have to make sure your image is drawing attention as much as, if not more than, your 5 top competitors. And that's really the main thing that gets the most conversions, at least in the initial stage. It catches the eye. They click it. They read it. If it's something that they want, they're like, shoot, yeah, this product looks really, really pretty. And it's got some lifestyle images. It's annotated. I know exactly what it does. I want this product. But if there's another product on the first page that's capturing their attention, they're going to put their time into that. They'll look at that. They'll read it. And they're like, oh, I like this product. Let me just compare it with 1 or 2 more, And if your product isn't there capturing the attention of the person looking for a nice looking product, because unfortunately as human beings, we do get drawn towards the shiny, pretty things in life. And that's what we want. We want to surround ourselves with that.
Okay.
So yeah, you've got to make sure that's it. So I would go for it. Just do some research. But there's a lot of products that, if you're making 10,000 per month and you're on page one, and then there's like four others making over 50,000 per month, then you could maybe get up there by just changing your images.
Okay, so you think that you'd have faith that you could beat those people out. Now, does that relate to the question of how much money you've got in your pocket to start with? So if there's a market where the top person's doing 50,000, let's say the top person's doing $80,000 as a month in sales, and you manage to do your pricing with the hard goods as opposed to supplements where it's all about marketing spend and the actual cost of the product is tiny, right? But let's say it's hard goods where you can land it for about a quarter of sales price, so the classic retail formula.
Right. So, it's been massively discounted.
Yeah. So let's say you've got it you can land it for $20. So in other words, you manufacture it, import it, pay import duty, anything else you need, inbound shipping to Amazon, $20, right? And therefore, if you're going to do $80,000 a month, you need to have at least $20,000 worth of inventory per month. If you're going to do a couple of months worth of stock, you need 40 grand's worth. If you're going to do some marketing on top with Amazon ads and giveaways and stuff, you maybe need another 20. You're probably looking at 100 grand to get into that market. So what would you say if somebody's, wants to get into a market where a lot of people have got very big revenue and you want to take that top slot off them? And then is it possible to do that with $5,000 or $10,000 to start with?
Yeah, for sure. So you said $20 landing cost, right? So that's
$20 a unit. Yeah.
$20 a unit to get it into Amazon, and then you may be selling it for 40 or something.
80. Let's say it's four times landed, which is the ideal. It's never easy to achieve when you've got low order quantities when you're starting out. But yeah, the ideal, I guess, it's
right.
I can't think of the damn thing. I teach it. I say it all the time. I can't think what it is, but it's a very, very cliche kind of way of doing it. Keystone. Right. Good God. I can't even think today. Keystone. That's what it is. Keystone pricing. So it's the standard way of doing it. So yeah, how does that relate? Do you think it's possible to break into a marketplace with a small budget?
I do, yeah. So let's say at the minute, a lot of tests have been going on, and Amazon algorithm likes products that are selling well over an 8-day period. All right, 8 to 10-day period. So let's say if you're selling good on 3 days and then you stop selling, then you're going to drop pages. Okay, you'll get to page one for maybe a day, but if you're not getting the organic clicks and buys, you're gonna drop pages. So 8 days, you wanna do your product launch for, ideally keep making sure you get a certain amount of sales. So let's say, for example, we want to get to the $80,000 per month slot. You have maybe you're able to maybe afford 500 of these things. 500 times 10, 5,000. So let's say you had $10,000.
Okay,
playing with $10,000 or less?
Let's play with $10,000 because it makes the maths easier. So you got $10,000. The widget costs. Okay, let's simplify all the maths. We got $10,000. The widget costs $10 each, and they're selling it for 40, right? So that means you've got 1,000 widgets for 10,000. Right. If you spend all your money, of course, on your inventory and you have nothing left for marketing or restocking, but presumably you wouldn't advise that. But
and this is going into a competitive niche because in this example, our like 5 top competitors are making over $60,000 per month in profit, which would financially set you free if you're able to get to page one, which you are. So I would obviously look at there's a tool in Helium10 called Cerebro Magnet, and you can find out what the keywords that they're using that are bringing them the most traffic. And then it also has a Cerebro, I forget the word now, a Cerebro launch column where it shows you how many you need to roughly sell per day / giveaway per day through PPC or giveaways to get to page one. And typically it's not as much as a lot of people think to get to page one. It's like maybe 100. So let's say you have, in a competitive area, it might be 100
per month
per day.
Or per day, or what do we?
Per day, but for 8 days. All right. So within 3 days, you can very likely see yourself on page one.
All right.
And then you're going to start getting all that page one traffic, which if you optimize your listing, make sure the images are good and the listing is good, and you index for all the keywords, which there's a tool, index checker, inside Helium10 to make sure you are, fully prepared and index for every keyword. You're not. A lot of people think like, oh my gosh, I'm doing these giveaways, I'm wasting money on PPC. You can waste money on PPC because every sale from PPC I won't say waste, but you can use your money wisely on PPC.
Yeah.
Because even though you may not be making money from PPC, every sale from PPC is ranking you higher in the organic search on Amazon. So boom, you get to page one. You may be paying more than you're getting back from PPC, but at the same time, it's helping you stay on page one where you're getting lots of organic sales because your pictures are good and your listing is good. So automatically, boom, all the traffic is going to buy your listing and you're going to sell out most likely, okay? Because you don't have as much money or inventory as the other people. But hey, you've sold out. You're like, shoot, okay, great. I broke even maybe on my PPC, but I gained profit because I was getting organic sales at the same time. So now you know it works. Now you know you can get to page one. You believe in yourself. So you're like, shoot, okay, now I'm going to invest everything that I just got back. Most of the time, you're going to make your money back, which a lot of people don't realize. If you failed, you've pretty much just made your money back and learned a lot, which is what I went through. But if you succeeded, you've made your money back, but you've also got profit as well. And then once you actually see that happen and see how easy it actually is, and while using the right tools as well, you go all in from there. And you may have started out with 500 units, and now you have more money to get more stock, and now you can go after that first place at the top of page one. But let's right now we've ran out of stock. So what's the first thing to do? Okay, because you don't want Amazon to think like, oh my gosh, they're not making any sales. So the little trick is you have to close your listing as soon as you run out of stock. Close your listing. You can slowly raise your price, which is good. Raising your price works a lot, okay, to increase your income and your profit. So as you're starting to run out of inventory, slowly increase the price of your item $1 per day and track if the sales are dropping or increasing. Sometimes they can actually increase and people are like confounded because like, wow, oh my gosh, I'm making all this money just with a $2 raise or something. Raise your price. If you start to see your sales drop, you know what your limit in how much you can sell that item for is. But once you have so many reviews, right, because you're getting into a niche that doesn't have like 10 people with over 1,000 reviews. Once you start getting up there with all the reviews and your images are like one of the best, then you can increase your price to more than your competitors because people are looking for a good looking product with good images, maybe a good title, but they're also like seconding it with reviews. So there's so many opportunities out there where on page one, there's just 3 products with 1,000 reviews, and that's where everyone's going into. And there's so many products out there for people to get in on if they know how to do it and know what tools to use.
Excellent. Well, I like your enthusiasm, and you certainly got the American dream. The can-do spirit is with you, especially you got that Californian passion and the American can-do spirit. So obviously you've left the grime of the London cynicism behind you. So that's great. Let me play the London devil's advocate then. The sort of slightly more British that. So let me just clarify this, dig a little bit deeper, because I think these are the sorts of questions that if you can solve them, you've removed genuinely by logic, not just by faith, the idea of some of the fears that block people, as you say, from taking a piece of the pie, which is massive. I mean, one of the 10K Collective members in the UK had his first £1 million month last month, just before Christmas. That's $1.2 million in a month, and that's in the UK. That's not even in the massive markets that you get in the US. So there is mega money to be made for sure. So I totally know that from the inside, but. Tell me a bit more about how that works. Have you got your $10,000 budget? Because I just think the numbers are the bit that people gloss over, and that's what it's all about. Numbers, it's business, right? You got a $10,000 budget, and you want to go into this market that we've been discussing. It's theoretical, but it's not untypical. How do you personally divide that money up, and how do you recycle that? How does it look? You start with $10,000. What do you spend on inventory? What do you spend on marketing? And then what's the cash flow? Just roughly, big picture.
With $10,000?
$10,000, yeah. Widget costs $10 each, $40 sales price. Let's say that after you're making 25% margin or something. Mm-hmm. How does that look? How you divide it up?
So a portion of, Amazon takes what, 15% typically. In some niches, it's 17.5%.
Yeah, that's the sales, and then you got your fulfillment costs. So it's typically it'd be about a third, roughly, wouldn't it? Yeah. So
you invest $10,000, you can typically expect to get maybe $7,000 back in profit if it's the right niche and you've used the right tools and you've about the process in the right way, and you've maintained it. You can't just leave it and just pray and hope that it is magic. You just have to maintain it. Make sure you're removing the keywords that aren't working from the PPC. You can contact. There's cheap ways. You can contact influencers on Instagram, YouTube, okay, who are more than willing to advertise your product for you, and then you get that set up. All right, you make those connections before your product launch. You've got everything set up. You have your product. You've ordered your product from China. You've contacted a bunch of influencers who are willing to do a review for your product. As soon as you get your product over, right, one of the cheapest ways is pay someone $500 and give them your item to advertise it on their YouTube following, on their Instagram following. There's so many people out there with a good following, and they're willing to do that. They're happy to do it. They get traffic. They like to do reviews for products, and they like getting stuff for free. Who doesn't like to get stuff for free? So that's a very cost-worthy way of being able to get a lot of traffic from outside without having to throw money in a Facebook ad and just hope that it doesn't like go over your budget that you've set.
Yeah,
it's a very good way of maintaining your budget and even saving money if you can get influencers to do it for you, make connections. There's many people that will do it for free.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I mean, yeah, influencer marketing is becoming more and more of a feature of the discussions of the 10K collective mastermind and the £1 million mastermind as well, to a degree. It's just one guy just had his first, I think, over $200,000 month just before Christmas again, and he's been really, really going heavy on influencer marketing. It's taken a long time to find the right people, to be fair, but you know,
I'm curious sold straight out. Niche.
What niche is in? I don't know exactly what would be, sort of clothing, apparel type thing. But
okay,
that's
quite competitive.
It's very competitive market, yeah, for sure. But what he worked with about 12 influencers and actually used that to sell out his product launch of a brand new product is actually sold out like 1,000 units or something. I don't know, it's several hundred anyway. Just purely based in influencer marketing, which is an amazing achievement. And by the way, just caveat, this is not a walk in the park and just common. I mean, that took months of hard flipping work with a personal assistant and himself really dedicating themselves to this. And by the way, the profit was not massive as I understand it. He was really plowing it back into gaining market share. So
in the industry, I'm sure, you got to have the reviews, you have to have the images.
It's more just that you got to create the relationships with the right people, I think. But I mean, doesn't mean that it can't be done. But I mean, I would just caution that it's I agree 100% with you with influencers, and B, you know, for newbies, I mean, it's not like PPC where you just turn it on and it can just take off. I think it's a finding the right people, creating relationships, trial and error. But yeah, it's definitely great value. So
one thing, just take action. Please. A lot of people get stuck at but how do you go about doing it? Just simply set up an Instagram account, set up a YouTube account, do a video of yourself so that they have something to see or something like that, and then just message them on Instagram, tag an image and then tag them and say, hey, please, can you promote my product? Here it is. This is what it looks like. This is what it does. Send them a direct message. Comment on their YouTube videos, on their most recent ones that they've maybe posted today or yesterday, because they're the ones that they're answering comments on. You know, say, hey, I've inboxed you an email. On YouTube, you can very easily get their email address by going to the About section. You click on their name, on their YouTube channel name. You click on the About section. A lot of them have emails. If they don't have an email, they have a link to their website. And on their website, there's a support thing where you can just, boom, send them an email. It's going to take a long time to find an influencer if you just overthink it.
Yeah,
don't
absolutely.
Overthink it. Just send them a message.
Just do it.
Click. Send a message. Hey, please promote my thing. Next person. Yeah. Please promote my thing.
Sounds
boom,
good.
Send a message.
Yeah, that sounds excellent. I love your very, very proactive approach. You're absolutely right. I mean, I suppose what I'm trying to say is don't do this. I'm like, get the hell on with it and expect it to take a bit of time to build. But you're right. I mean, it's quite possible that the person, well as they have done in terms of sales, is also overthinking. I mean, he's a very analytical chap. So maybe you're just Mr. Action oriented, and actually that's the way to go. So coming back to your one of the first things you said,
it's what I've learned. Yeah.
Take a lot of action.
I know.
Throw some stuff against the wall. Yeah. No, I
write
think
a script, write your story, and then just insert the person's name you're contacting. Copy paste, insert their name to make it more personal. Copy paste, insert their name to make it more personal. And they'll read it, and they'll probably get a connection with you from that. If not, then they're going to ask you a question and shoot you. But you've got them.
You're right. Taking massive action makes a lot of sense. Now, that's a really, really good hint. Thank you for that. Definitely influencer marketing. I still think it's underused. I had Brian Burt on advertising and talking through that whole thing, and they have their tool which escapes me. We'll put it in the show notes. I'm sorry, Brian. I can't remember it offhand, but it's really good. I've used it and I can't even think offhand, which shows how bad an affiliate I'm being. But yeah, the point is there are tools out there, but whether you use a tool or whether you do it yourself, it's just a question of massive action, and you're 100% right. And if it takes time to build, there's a reason to start today rather than, wait. I would just caution the newbies for putting too much faith in that short-term win, because newbies tend to think, people are new, future entrepreneurs, if you want to put it politely, they tend to be very, very short-term in their thinking, partly because they haven't got much cash, which is fair enough. Me. Yeah, I mean, so I would encourage anyone to start exactly what Sean's just said. It's fantastic. Just make massive action on getting influencers on board and just get on with it now, because it might take you a few months to find the right people. But if you're starting now, then your private label product might take a few months to develop, in which case you'll be ready to roll by the time it's ready. So
it typically takes a month and a half, maybe 2 months to get it manufactured in China for cheap, then shipped over. So you have a lot of time in between then to set up all your funnels, all your advertising, all your connections and stuff to get ready for your product launch. I mean, there's a lot of people that don't do that and they become successful, but you want to make sure that you're giving it your best, okay?
100%. I agree entirely.
So take action at least every day for at least an hour of focused action every single day for 2-3 months. Okay. You can't just do a bit here, and then expect a big win unless you did like amazing product research, and found a really uncompetitive product that's doing well.
But that's unusual these days. Let's face it. You got to hustle.
Work.
Yeah. I like it. You're like the sort of, Coach Sean, I like it. This is really good stuff. I like this. It's nice to have a flavor of that sort of level of optimism. That's great. I mean, I often end up speaking with people who've been around the block and got so many scars that they have a bit of cynicism, which is okay. I mean, skepticism is good, cynicism not, right? And there's the difference. You don't want to believe everything you read or hear, but on the other hand, believing nothing is just as damaging, because you've got to have that optimism, you've got to have that drive. And I'm really catching that from you. It's really great.